happy thoughts of hunting down the people who requested this fanfic and sticking their heads on pikes! Okay, shh. Just think happy thoughts of slicing their throats open. No. Shh. Whew. I am sorry for that little outburst. I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. And today's fanfic that I'll be reviewing is Sweet Apple Pie Massacre! I don't want to do it. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to slice you all to pieces. I'm sorry for that outburst. I don't want to kill you all. I just want to kill the people who requested this fanfic to me. Okay, calm down. Yeah, Sweet Apple Pie Massacre. Yeah. Think of cupcakes, but 10 times worse. Oh my god. I'm really gonna lose it for this episode. I can't even keep myself together. I haven't even started reading it yet. There must be something I can do. There must be someone who can stop me. Someone to... Oh my god, this fanfic is just so awful. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to slit my throat. I said I'm afraid this fanfic is so awful that I'm gonna have to slit my throat. What the fuck is she doing in there? Oh, for God's sake, she's sleeping. Susan! Susan! Wake up! Susan! Look what I have in my hand. I have the razor and I'm gonna slice my neck open if you do not stop me. I'm reading a really bad fanfic that's probably gonna make me either A, go insane, which I already am insane, or B, kill myself. Come on, Susan, I'm gonna kill myself. Wake up! This is serious life or death. Oh, I see how it is. Okay, yeah, go ahead and roll over. Fine. If I end up killing myself, it'll be on your head. Of course, she always wakes up and hears me when I'm not actually going to kill myself and then shoots me when I'm clearly threatening to kill myself. I'm sleeping like a little baby. Dream not. Oh, that bloody... Well, that didn't save me, so I guess I have no choice but to review this fanfic. You guys better be happy. You guys better be happy. Sweet Apple Pie Massacre. The author is a guest. Oh, this is on pastebin.net. So whatever. It was made on July 30th, 2011. Its syntax is none. Its size is 13.34 gigabytes and it has over 8,000 hits. It expires never. Unfortunately, never. I wish it could expire today because if I had the power, I would destroy this fanfic off the face of the earth. But I digress. Let's read this fanfic now! Oh, how charming. It's in typewriter, and the lines are numbered. Oh, how many lines do I have to read of this fucking piece of, more like paragraphs? 44! Let's get this over with. I'm going to do some voice acting for this episode to try to keep my sanity. 1. Big Macintosh surveyed the many apple trees that made up Sweet Apple Acres. It was nearly apple buck season once again, and it looked as though they would be having a bumper harvest this year. He nodded, satisfied. His sister Applejack walked up beside him. "Whoo, boy, howdy. I'm sure glad you ain't injured this time, Big Macintosh," she said. "Why, there's even more apples up them trees than last year." "Yep," Big Macintosh replied, his characteristic manner. "Them's a lot of apples." Applejack was silent for a moment, enjoying the feel of the slight breeze against her blonde mane. "Say, I don't suppose you've seen Apple Bloom anywhere, have you? I've been looking for her all day, and she ain't nowhere to be found." Big Macintosh shook his head. "Sorry, sis. Can't say I have." "Darn, that silly filly's probably gone off somewhere with her friends. I just hope she ain't getting herself into any mischief, or else there'll be hay to pay. Don't you go worrying yourself, Applejack, he replied. I'm sure she's perfectly fine. But anyway, I need to go back to the barn. I gotta go and press some apples for some of my home-brewed apple cider. I hoof-picked a few apples earlier, specially, all nice and plump and ripe, and they ain't gonna press themselves. Applejack laughed. You sure do love your cider, don't you? Just make sure Apple Bloom don't get her hooves on it again. We all know what happened last time. Big Macintosh chuckled along with his sister. Yep. The large red pony trotted back to the barn and gently closed the door. He opened a trapdoor with his mouth and went down the steps into the old, disused apple cellar. Usually it was just filled with junk, some scrap metal, old worn-out plows, old rope, and various other bits and bobs that outlived their usefulness. Big Macintosh often came down here when he wanted to get away from the world, to withdraw for a little while for some peace and quiet. Today was different, however. The old rope, at least, had found a new use, because in the cellar space where Apple Bloom and her fellow cutie mark crusaders, Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, bound and gagged, propped up against the wall. 3 pairs of scared, round eyes looked up at Big Macintosh as he approached. Now then, you 3 fillies, he said, as placid as ever, y'all need to learn a lesson. You need to learn not to mess around with Big Macintosh. All I want is some peace and quiet, he said, looking directly at Apple Bloom. The little red-haired filly cowered under his gaze. All I want is a quiet life, without all you cutie mark crusaders running around the place, making with the noise. When I'm finished with y'all, there gonna be no noise from you ever again. Oh my God. As Big Macintosh approached, Scootaloo flapped her wings, struggling to get off the ground. Big Macintosh laughed and grabbed one of her wings. He twisted, at first slow, watching the pain visibly grow in her eyes, but then tore hard, smiling slightly when he heard the snap and the muffled whimper that came from Scootaloo. He then threw her to the ground. Your wings are useless, you silly filly, he said pleasantly. He then went to a toolbox and took out a rusty knife with a jagged blade and dropped it in front of the 3 fillies. I'm going to take off those gags now, he said. The first one of you to scream gets their tongue cut out. Why? Why are you making me read this? Why are you making me read this? Wasn't Cupcakes bad enough? Wasn't Miss Slovet's lesson bad enough? Wasn't that stupid, insanely in love fanfic even bad enough? Technically, I didn't read that out loud to you, but I still told you about it. I have to go on. Well, let's get this over with. He took off Sweetie Belle's gag first. She looked up at him with terror but managed to stay quiet. Next was Scootaloo. She let out a strangled whine and breathed heavily, still in horrendous pain from her broken wing, but managed to resist the temptation. Finally, he removed the gag from his sister Apple Bloom. She stared at him with large round eyes filled with fear and incomprehension. This was Big Macintosh, after all. Her brother and the gentlest of souls, wasn't he? Surely this was just a horrible joke? But she had seen what he had done to Scootaloo's wing, and it was definitely not a joke. She took a deep breath. Applejack! Before Macintosh shoved his hoof into Apple Bloom's mouth, silencing her scream. He sighed and shook his head. I told you not to scream, Apple Bloom. You should have listened to your big brother. I'll scream. I'll scream and scream again, and Applejack will hear, and Apple Bloom said falteringly, You know, I kind of hope you do. After all, I still ain't forgiven Applejack for that injury she gave me last apple book season. If you want Applejack to join you all down here, scream away. I, for one, would welcome her company. But now, to business. Big Macintosh picked up the knife and loomed over the cowering Apple Bloom. He pinned her down with a powerful hoof and stuck the knife into Apple Bloom's mouth. Sweetie Belle vomited at the sight. The thick yellow chunks and acidic-smelling liquid splattered heavily on the floor. Scootaloo managed not to be sick, but rather gasped and sobbed and choked with panic. Big Macintosh forced open Apple Bloom's mouth and with some effort cut her tongue out. Apple Bloom tried to scream, but her mouth was too full of blood, so it was more of a muted gurgle. After a short while, she collapsed, tears streaming from her eyes, falling unconscious from the shock and the pain. Big Macintosh then took the tongue and rolled it in the puddle of putrid vomit on the floor. He smiled at Scootaloo. "You hungry?" "Excuse me." To my sanity. Let's continue. Scootaloo shook her head vigorously and cast him a defiant glare. "If Rainbow Dash was here, she would kick the crap out of you, you maniac." Big Macintosh shrugged. "Well, she ain't. And anyway, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Rainbow Dash ain't as tough as she likes to make out." He shoved the vomit-covered tongue into Scootaloo's mouth and used his hoof to clamp her mouth shut. "Don't you go trying to spit it out now," he said calmly, with a little laugh and the filly struggled and squirmed. "Didn't your mother ever tell you how important it is to chew your food?" Scootaloo closed her eyes and flapped her one good wing desperately, eventually swallowing Apple Bloom's tongue. Big Macintosh, still holding the withering Scootaloo down with his strong hooves, then mounted the orange filly and slid his penis into her tight virgin pussy, raping her for several minutes while Sweetie Belle watched, trembling with revulsion. Apple Bloom was still out cold, blood pouring from her torn-up mouth. "Cutie marker say to rape victims," Big Macintosh said with tender mockery as he fucked Scootaloo, followed by a gentle chuckle. "Guess you all found your purpose in life now. Your special talent is getting raped. Yep." Eventually he withdrew from Scootaloo and gripped her head tight and repeatedly punched her hard with a hoof in the face, causing her nose to shatter and spurt with blood. He scooped up some of the blood and some of Sweetie Belle's vomit with his tongue and held it in his mouth so that it mixed with his saliva. He then brought his mouth close to Scootaloo and spat the rank mixture into her mouth. She clamped his hoof over her mouth and held her nose until she gagged and eventually had no choice but to swallow. Okay, I think I'm all set to read this now, y'all. Yup. As Scootaloo reached and spat and cried, he turned to Sweetie Belle. He grabbed her easily as she was too shocked and traumatized to respond, and with apparent amusement he rammed her horn up Scootaloo's ass. The horn was too big and hard, so the skin around Scootaloo's ass ripped and blood and fecal matter first trickled and then poured profusely down Sweetie Belle's face. Talk about major diarrhea there, yep. As well as urine as Scootaloo pissed himself. "You keep doing that, Sweetie Belle," he said. The unicorn carried on, pushing her horn up Scootaloo's anus slowly but surely. Her normally well-groomed pink and purple mane was now stained with a reddish-brown, glistening with the wetness of the piss and blood. If you stop, I'll come over there and get creative. I may seem a bit dense, but I'm actually quite a creative stallion, you know." "Oh, I thought he was a pony now." "Oh, Mama, oh wait, oh, ponies. The ponies can be men and women, can't they? But then again, when I watch My Little Pony, all the characters all seem to be female. Maybe he's transgender or something. I have no idea. I don't even watch the new show anyhow." Big Macintosh said with a wink. "Yep. Oh, I guess he is inspired by, Goofy. Yep. Yuck. I need more margarita. Classic microphone. Okay, he went to Apple Bloom and penetrated his little sister's unconscious body with his rock-hard cock. Oh, like this fanfic couldn't get much worse. Not only does it have a lot of rape and massacre, it now has incest. Oh, congratulations, author. Mr. Guest, you must be so proud of yourself for writing such a monstrosity, piece of shit, varmint, piece of shit, junk, fact, and filth. And I just made that word up on the top of my head. Whatever. Let's continue to read this god-awful fanfic. While he violated her, he got a knife. This one sharp and sinewy, sliced open her flank, causing her glistening intestines to flop out wetly onto the floor. He glanced over and was pleased to see that Sweet Belle was still using her horn to anally penetrate Scootaloo, and her face was now completely covered in blood and feces and urine. He turned his attention to Apple Bloom and scooped up her chrism entrails and wrapped them around her neck, still fucking the filly. With his front hooves, he pulled and pulled until it was wrapped so tightly around Apple Bloom's neck that it broke her windpipe. Well, at least with Apple Bloom's case, she's unconscious, so she's not feeling any of this, and by the time he's done with her, she'd probably be dead. But then again, this is the world of fan fiction, and fan fiction characters who get tortured tend to live for a very, very, very long time. She pulled out now. She was now surely dead. Oh wow, thank you for saying the obvious, Captain Obvious. But Big Macintosh continued fucking her furiously until her body began to lose form and collapse into a quivering, amorphous mass of fur and blood and flesh. I love how this person knows not how to use comma, proper punctuation or anything. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter how much hard you fuck someone, you can't cause somebody to suddenly collapse like that. They have a little thing called bones. So what, is he fucking her so hard that her bones are disintegrating too? You need some logic in your story, Sonny, you really do. If you're gonna write a really gross fanfic, you at least need to be correct. The perineum had fallen away, leaving a single red and raw gaping void. He carried on until he was fucking nothing but a single swollen and bloody orifice, and then discarded his baby sister's carcass as though she was nothing more than a rotten apple core. And I do say he definitely wins Brother of the Year award for that. He then took a knife and grabbed Sweetie Belle and tossed her aside. He forced himself into Scootaloo's ruined anus and then took the knife and cut from her ass in a sweeping motion up to her belly, and then all her innards fell out. He then grabbed her head, twisted and tore it clean off, using his immense strength. And fuck, I can't speak like this southern accent anymore, take it seriously. Even having a few drinks makes me not want to read this bloody fanfic. And yes, I say this, I'm still speaking the accent. I need another drink. He fucked it in the mouth and then tossed it aside. He then had sex with her headless body in both the vagina and the anus until he got bored. Sweetie Belle was the last remaining cutie mark crusader. She was herself barely conscious, overcome with the nauseous stench of blood, shit, and piss that covered her horn and her face. Big Macintosh pinned Sweetie Belle down with his hoof and plunged the knife into her green eye and twisted, causing a vitreous fluid to dribble out onto the handle. At that, Sweetie Belle let out a throaty whine and involuntarily emptied her bowels. And the aroma of fresh urine and feces filled the apple cellar once again. He withdrew the knife and did the same to the other eye, each time holding her tight and sticking his hoof into her mouth to silence her agonized screams. He licked the vitreous fluid that had leaked onto the knife and then methodically began cutting and hacking at her front left hoof using the rusty knife. The knife was quite blunt, so it took a Herculean effort to get through the skin, bone, and cartilage. But eventually, the bone splintered and the leg came off. He did the same to her other legs until all four were amputated and nothing remained but bloody stumps. With the slimy white ligament and broken bone shards hanging out, and some of Sweetie Belle had passed out, the overwhelming pain was too much for her to bear. Realistically, Sonny, I think she'd be dead at this point just from the amount of blood loss. Not only did you stab both of her eyes out, but you cut off all four of her legs. She would be dead by this point, Sonny. She really would be, unless you made an effort to cover up her wounds before she could bleed to death. Really, son, I reckon that you do some research before you write gory fanfics like this. He then used the knife to gouge out her left eye and jammed his penis into her eye socket. But wait a minute, I thought he already jammed out her eye. Maybe he never actually pulled them out. Maybe he just twisted so then she couldn't see no more. Oh, whatever. Who hell knows Kaz? I'm fucking fun on it. Penetrating repeatedly down into her brain, enjoying how tight her skull felt around his hard shaft and how warm and squishy the brain matter felt against the tip of his throbbing penis. Now, at this point, Sonny, she would definitely be dead. As he did, he twisted Sweetie Belle's neck. After he had finished skull fucking her, he cracked open her skull with a swift stamp of his hoof and bent down and ate some of the exposed brain, taking care to spit out the few fragments of skull bone that had mixed in as he chewed. It was warm and slimy and tough and stuck to the back of his throat. He swallowed, then raped Sweetie Belle in the ass until it tore open and his enlarged penis was smeared with what little fecal matter remained in her rectum. Man, he must have a really hard on if it takes him this long to finally come. Ugh, I can't believe I just said that. He took one of Sweetie Belle's detached legs and shoved it inside her ass and then fucked Apple Bloom and Scootaloo's bodies the same way, forcing the amputated limb in hoof first as far as it would go. Now, at this point, this is kind of overkill because all three ponies are finally dead. Now you're just literally beating a dead horse. No pun intended. Okay, it was intended, but you get the idea. Oh, fuck, I lost my place. Oh, I found it. He thought of how strange it was, the still lumps of torn flesh that he was fucking with Sweet Belle's leg had been so vibrant and alive such a short time ago. Well, that's what happens when you kill something, you idiot. But now all three were dead. Gee, I kind of figured that, seeing they're all lumps of flesh now. And he finished by spurting his voluminous load into Apple Bloom's destroyed backside. He watched with satisfaction as the semen and blood and shit mixed together, forming a foamy maroon pool. He bent down and greedily lapped some of it up with his tongue, pressing his tongue deep into her anal cavity so as not to miss any, letting some dribbling down his chin. It tasted foul, of course, a rancid, tangly slime that burned his throat, but it felt so satisfying. He swallowed the filthy goo and wiped his mouth with the hoof. It was done. Big Macintosh would finally get his peace and quiet. One minute. And we're still not done. Big Macintosh, you down there? It was Applejack. He looked at the disfigured corpses of the three fillies, all now barely recognizable, and the oh-so-sweet cutie mark crusaders, and realized he felt strangely unsatisfied. It had all been a bit too quick and easy. Now Applejack. That would be a challenge. She was Ponyville's best athlete after all. She even had the prize pony of Ponyville trophy to prove it. And of course he still hadn't forgiven her for that injury. He felt his penis stiffen once again in anticipation. Hey Big Mac, I say, you down there? Came Applejack's lilting voice again, this time more insistent. Big Macintosh replied serenely, I sure am, sis. Hey, come down here for a minute. I got something to show you. Sure thing. What is it? It's a surprise. Oh boy, I sure do love surprises. Something real nice, I bet. Something real nice? Big Macintosh looked at the mangled, mutilated remains of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and his lips curled into a thin smile. Yep. Oh my God. Why? 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 Even drinking all those drinks and speaking like a Southern belle for most of the episode did not make this any better. It just made it worse. Worse! You sicko! You fucking sicko! You wanna know what's sad? This fanfic makes cupcakes look tame. Tame! Tame. It makes it look tame. 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 The person who wrote this fanfic has serious issues. The person who wrote Cupcakes has serious issues. And if anyone gets turned on by stuff like this, I have news for you. You have issues too. Why? Why? Why do people get turned on by writing this shit? What is so appealing about it? Nothing appealing about it at all. Do you really hate My Little Ponies that much that you would write garbage like this? You know, if this was like a Saw fanfic, it wouldn't be that bad. But it's a My Little Ponies fanfic. In other words, it's based off of a kids show. What is with you people in writing deranged kids show fanfics involving the characters being out of character and psychopathic maniacs? It should be its own genre. There should be its own little fanfiction.net section called "This is where we fuck up kids shows and make everyone out of character and violent, homicidal maniacs." You might as well do that because that's how it should be. It's just wrong. 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 I don't know if I can recover from this. I really do not know if I can recover from this. I don't think I can. I really don't think I can. Probably not. No. Why are you faking stupid? I've kept my silence long enough. Oh boy, but I think it's time that I express finally how I feel about this fanfic. You don't write fanfics like this. You just don't. You don't. You simply don't. Oh my God. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck did I just read? Did I seriously read a massacre involving ponies? Big Macintosh? What the hell? He was crazier than... Okay. You know what? Fuck it. This doesn't even deserve a song. You know what? I'm just gonna end it now. And Susan, if you're watching this, please forgive me, but I really had no choice. No, don't worry. I forgive you. I just hope you can forgive me later. Come on now. Come on. Let's get you down on the floor. Oh. There you go. Let's see what this fanfic is. She does have a good point, though. Why do you people bother writing fanfics like this? Why do you bother? It's just sick. It's disturbing. Stop doing it. And please stop sending these fanfics to my friend. Because I really don't like having to knock her out like this, but You saw how close she came to killing herself. How many times have I told her not to drink in here? Oh, bloody hell. Well, I should turn off the camera. Thank you for watching today's episode. Have a good night. Bye.